Hi everyone. We're starting a new series and as you can see, a new look with glasses. Hopefully it'll make it a lot easier for me to read my notes and I won't be like going like this to try and read them. So anyway, yeah, this series I'm calling it Nature All Awareness. And it basically is that we're going to be exploring different avenues for awareness, from different styles of practice to embracing nature as a pathway. So first we're going to review our definition of mindfulness. I know it's been a while since we discussed it. And then we'll examine different styles of meditation, 3 in particular, one of which my teacher at UCLA, Diana Winston, has really cultivated, called natural awareness. And then after that, we're going to explore awareness through the 4 elements of nature: wind, fire, water, and earth. That's really where the title for these sessions comes from. So don't worry if you don't have access to the outdoors while we're sitting. I'm going to bring it to you. So here we go. All right, back to our definition of mindfulness. Now that we've been practicing for a while, let's revisit and make sure it still resonates with you. So as you may remember, I defined it as a quality of attention that you can bring to any moment with curiosity, compassion, and creativity. The key phrase is really at any moment. It's certainly something you can cultivate formally in your meditation practice and when you sit, but it can also be present in any activity, such as eating, walking, speaking, even writing, as I've been doing for the last 3 weeks. Simply being mindful leads to becoming fully present, fully involved, and fully appreciative of the moment, possibly every moment. Whatever you're doing, bringing a crystallization or clarity of that moment that allows for insight. In fact, another name for mindfulness meditation is actually insight meditation. So it's where each moment can become quite precious simply because you look at it through the lens of awareness. I think of it as a form of inquiry. That's where the curiosity comes in, but it's not just that. In our everyday awareness, you may realize you're angry or you yell at someone and get in a bad mood. But with mindful awareness, you not only recognize what you're feeling and the impact your emotions have on you, but you're also aware of the energy that your emotions create, how they radiate out into the world around you. And that awareness provides a spaciousness, a gap, as we say, allowing you to decide how you want to react in that moment with compassion and not be overruled by your emotions. That's where the creativity comes in. With mindful awareness, the idea is you're aware of being aware of your anger or whatever emotion, and then a clarity arises from that observation. It's really the step after what we would call normal awareness. My teacher in France, Martin Aylward, describes it as being in a state that is undefended, undistracted, and undemanding. He loves everything in 3s. So we've discussed many times how most of us live in an unconscious state, meaning we're primarily self-centered. In an earlier class, I quoted from David Foster Wallace's speech called "This is Water," where he writes, "We have a constant monologue going on inside our heads which supports the belief that we are the center of the universe, the most important person in existence." And of course, I think if you take a look inside most people's heads, and you're likely your own, you'll find that's exactly the case. But with mindful awareness, we're able to cultivate a different attitude. Later in that same speech, David Foster Wallace says, "You can choose what to pay attention to and how you construct meaning from experience. And the only thing that is capital T true is that you get to decide how to see it." And for me, that sums up awareness perfectly. And if you notice, I keep repeating that phrase, how you see it. In the last class, you may remember the quote from Max Planck, and the class before that, the quote from Louise Gluck. The idea is we can choose how we want to see ourselves and the world around us. And that choice is what brings clarity and is truly empowering. Well, now that we've defined it, let's discuss the 3 different styles of mindful awareness practice. The first is the one we've been using pretty consistently, which is called focused awareness, which is where you choose an anchor such as your breath or your body or sounds, and then you stay with that anchor for the entire meditation practice. If we were to think about it as a form of nature, it would be like a single ray of sunshine. But it's the fact that you stay with it for the entire sit that makes it so focused. The second kind is called flexible. And in that, you kind of roam around or switch between anchors. So you don't just stay with one like your breath. You could move from your breath to your body to sounds. You could even move to your thoughts, just depending on what seems to work best. And here our attention gets pulled in different directions, but there's always an object that we focus on. So it's sort of halfway between the focused and then the next one, which is natural, where we don't have a focus so much. So if we were to talk about focused, flexible awareness in terms of nature, it would be like dappled light in a forest where there's many different light points that we would move around on to focus on. And the last but not least is natural awareness or open awareness, which is effortless, but more important, objectless. This is how I first began to meditate, since I never really belonged to a class or a formal structure. I just began sitting, and eventually that was what came to me. So any style that works for you is fine. But the idea with natural awareness, again, is that there's no object. And, if you were to describe it in terms of some kind of natural element, it would be really like the sky. So a cloudless, limitless sky. But it's important to understand there is no best way or style to practice mindfulness. A style could just come to you spontaneously the way mine did, or it can be something you can explore as you work through the other styles. It's just a matter of what feels accessible to you at any moment. The second thing to know is you prefer a kind of practice over another, there's no reason you have to switch. But as we like to say, it's often good to keep an open mind, a beginner's mind, and see if at some point another style is worth investigating. I remember telling one of my teachers that I found focusing on my breath difficult, and he said, well, you should just try it. I think I'm just gonna close the blinds a little. It's very sunny. There we go. I was trying to avoid the sun the whole time. He said, you should try the other kind, see if you like it. And although it's not my default style, I do try it and I like it. But I do switch between all 3. So if you feel open to exploring, do. But the third thing to remember about the practice is no matter what style you use, it's light. It's not heavy. It's the opposite of effort, pushing, or forcing. It's almost like, I think it's like putting on a pair of glasses, and all of a sudden it makes seeing so much easier, regardless of whether it's sunglasses or bifocals or whatever it is. But it really does help to bring clarity to your view. So you've probably noticed many of the benefits already, regardless of the style you're practicing. In my case, so you might have a sense of calm or ease that you can cultivate in difficult times, or it can be as simple as a sense of aliveness that you find just in taking this breath in this moment. Or it may be a joy that you cultivate regularly the way Sandra does with her gratitude journal. In my case, meditation has been instrumental for me in defining boundaries. As a naturally giving person, I have trouble saying no. I found that that's an issue for a lot of folks who practice mindfulness, because we focus on cultivating empathy and compassion, and not just for ourselves, but for others. And so it can be hard to know where to draw the line for your own well-being. And I have tended to allow people, such as my relatives, to take advantage of me. So one in particular would call me every morning, complaining about things in their life and wanting to have me fix it. And because I'm just one of those kinds of people, I felt like it was my duty to listen and see if I could fix it. So for years this went on, but really both of us were wrong. Mindful awareness really helped me to understand that I needed to change that dynamic and stop trying to help this person. So after years of failed attempts, I made the difficult choice to cut off communication and forcing this person to look elsewhere for their support, which would be good for them, and forcing me to get over my desire to fix something, which would be wonderful for me. As we know, we can't really fix other people. So it's been a long time, and I can't say there's been a huge change, but that person has found other support, other means for support, and I am healthier and happier having set that boundary. And believe it or not, I still use the meditation to help me because I felt bad about it. So I got over some of the guilt I felt about making that difficult choice. So mindfulness can help in so many ways. Another thing that I found is that it can help in situations in work, which I hadn't really thought about as being a potential benefit. But I remember one example really clearly. At a recent job, I had a difficult manager. She seemed to, torment a number of people in her department, including me. And she knew very well how to play the game, so her manager loved her, and I realized there was no way while I was at that job that anything was going to happen other than I would have to get along with her. So I used to literally dread going to work and every interaction with her. When I would communicate how I felt, she would turn it around and attack me and say I was being defensive. It was a no-win situation. So then in one of my meditations, a solution came to me. And after approaching her directly for some time, I decided the only way to improve the situation was to actually go around her. So as head of my own department, I created a new role for a project manager that would support her directly. And then I moved off to support a different department. It was brilliant and easy. And the solution actually just appeared during one of my morning sits, even though I wasn't directly thinking about it. So that's a really great example of curiosity, clarity, and creativity. So besides just feeling calm and at ease, you may find that solutions to real-world issues can become apparent through our practice. The idea is with an open-minded, open-hearted awareness that is undefended, undistracted, and undemanding, the curious inquiry combined with compassion can allow truths to be revealed that engender creativity. The way light peeks through crevices or water flows through gaps. So whatever your style, however long you sit, however much your mind wanders, just sit. It's that simple. It may not feel natural at first, but it's like any new skill. With patience and a steady, regular rhythm, it happens. It just becomes our default setting. And it comes over you with no effort, like a cool breeze, like a spring rain shower. It's in that becoming aware of the awareness that brings clarity to find your truth. The path is simply in the doing, the sitting, and the rest will unfold naturally. So let me close with two wonderful quotes. The first one I heard at a talk with Jack Kornfield in Santa Monica last year. And he quotes a woman, Laurie Chapman, who I haven't been able to find anywhere, but it was such a great quote, I wrote it down. And she said, "I like nothing more in the world than sitting on my ass, doing nothing. And it's not my fault I have this attitude, because I happen to have an amazingly comfortable ass. It may not look like much, but if you could sit on this baby for 2 minutes, you realize that getting off this ass would be a crime against nature." Now, we might not all have such a great ass, but I think the idea is we can find a same sense of joy by sitting on our asses and doing nothing. And then from Toni Morrison, at some point in life, the world's beauty becomes enough. You don't need to photograph, paint, or even remember it. It's enough. No record of it needs to be kept, and you don't need someone to share it with or tell it to. when that happens, that letting go, you let go because you can. So thank you so much for sitting with me for this first class. And as I said, our next class we'll be talking about nature through its actual force upon us and seeing how that works with our awareness. So let's see. Let's sit for a while and enjoy it. Thank you so much.